Fantasy football weekly recap. I'm not really sure why I'm doing this, considering probably all the favorite teams won, and there's no point in really going over this. Oh, wait, that did not happen. Let's take a look. Vinegar Strokes and the Cheats. Eric could not possibly lose to a 3-7 team, since his team is pretty much unbeatable. Um, but we did find out that Peyton Manning, when he doesn't put up 40 points, Eric's team can be beat. Really, not many people showed up. Nelson had 20. Joik Bell had a pretty good game, and Gresham had a good game. Other than that, a few disappointments. Jackson, Ellington, Hilton, Patterson, Johnson, all not really putting up any points. I don't know if I can trust his starting lineup moving forward every week. If Peyton Manning doesn't put up 40 points, Eric's team is beatable. So if defenses figure out the Broncos' offense, and especially if Julius Thomas and Sanders are going to be out for long periods of time, that could hurt Eric and possibly make him the number 5 seed, is what it's looking up like. But cheats, Cam Newton, it looked like he had a terrible game, but ended up finishing out well. He had 25. Benjamin had 26, and Sanders, before he got hurt, put up 22. So big performances out of those three players. Yeah, Donnell, which showed up. Sometimes he's 2 points, sometimes he's 15 points. So yeah, the good Donnell still showed up for him, and Vinatieri put up 12 as well. So good performance out of Roger, putting up 138. Eric, you're not going to win many games putting up 120 come playoff time. So hopefully you can get your team turned around. I know you had a couple people on buys, but that could have cost you, well, it really comes down to our game. So as long as, that's going to be a battle week 13. Game of the year right there. So let's move on. Let's take a look at 40-yard dash, and may the Swartz be with you, which I don't know why he has that name still. Anyway, let's take a look. Mike's team put up some numbers this week. Evans put up 40, Hill put up 18, Charles put up 30, Bell put up 30. AJ Green came back, put up 25. Macklin put up 25. Matt Ryan, 17. But total of 208. Very good performance. Question is, can he continue that come playoff time? I don't know how much I can trust Matt Ryan every week as your starter quarterback. Russell Wilson really hasn't shown much either. With Macklin, I don't know if he's going to continue with Sanchez as the quarterback either. That's something to look out for. But, Charles had a good bounce back game. Julius Thomas got hurt. That's a big. Wondering how big of a injury that's going to be. If Thomas is out, that's a big injury come playoff time in the next couple weeks with his matchup with Scott, I believe, coming up. So that could be a big indicator for Mike's future team, as well as Mr. Hill. Bernard will be back. That's going to take touches away from Hill. He's not going to put up the numbers. Evans not going to put up 40 points, I don't think. McNown had a good game. They looked awful, whoever they played. Washington looked terrible. So, very good week for Mike. Does that continue? I don't think so. I still think he's number 4 out of the 4 big teams, but he has big weeks and he has not so big weeks. As well as may the Swartz be with you. Yeah, there's nothing to talk about. Fleener had a good game, 21 points, but he had 0 points, 1.7 points out of players. Hopefully, Derek has a plan for the future. I don't know what big free agent name he's going to go after next year, but he's gotta make some big changes, and And hopefully that happens for him because these 2 years have been, I'm sure, pretty tough for him. So moving on to the next game, let's take a look. Team 10 and Unnecessary Fisting. I thought this would be a lot better game than it was, but I guess when you start David Carr, that's never a good thing. He only put up 5 points. Really, no one showed up for Andy's team. Cobb put up 22 and Beckham Jr. put up 15, but his starting lineup he put out there, it's tough to win you games unless you have some big performances. But with Carr putting up 5, Wallace putting up 8, Sanu putting up 5, Vincent Jackson is big add-on 7.3, maybe one of the biggest disappointments of the year. Um, it's funny that Andy's team was undefeated, the last undefeated team last year, and now he's dumping everyone this year. So I think he's got some good players to build around, but definitely a rough year this year for Andy. Now looking at Jared's team, Jared, he had some guys put up some numbers. Marshall and Forte leading the way, the two Big Bears players. Some great games. Roddy White put up 21. Kenny Britt kind of came out of nowhere, put up 22. Good start for that. And then everyone else was so-so. Kaepernick, it's hard to trust him every week. I mean, he put up 16, but I would not like Kaepernick as my starting quarterback moving forward, especially moving to the playoffs. It's kind of funny, though. Andy actually has more points overall than Jared, and Andy is 4-7, and Jared is 8-3. So some good luck with schedules and so on, but Jared's going to be hurting now that Cooks is hurt. Tate's been released. He's had a lot of bad news. I know if I'm in that first round, I'd almost rather, Mike Samuels or Jared. Those are, I don't know. I don't know who would win in a game. Samuels is on a little hot streak, and Jared is losing some players. So that might be, almost might rather see Jared come playoff time than Mike Samuels. So kind of interesting two teams to look at moving forward for the playoffs possibly. And let's move on. So let's take a look at Dutch Oven and I Love Mike Ditka. I love my Ditka, excuse me. Put up 98 points. A few good performances. Baldwin, Landry. That's about it. A Blue had a good performance. I like what I Love my Ditka is doing. I mean, there wasn't many other options with the roster that he had. So I think he's has the right idea, but I don't think it's going to be next year. I think it's going to be maybe 2 years, possibly 3 years before he's competitive. I don't see maybe a couple starters next year. I don't think they are all going to be starters, what he is hoping for, but definitely moving in the right direction and playing for, I would say, 2016, not 2015. As far as the Dutch Oven goes, Drew Brees, another so-so performance. I think this is his third game with under 20 points. Kind of a low-end number one quarterback now. I mean, just not putting up the numbers that we're used to seeing for Drew Brees, which may be some concern moving forward into playoff time as well. Mr. Brown, definitely one of the players of the year. Another 25-point game. Thomas came, 17 points. That's not a bad day, but compared to what he's put up, definitely not as good as you're used to seeing. McCoy only 11. Vereen did put up 11. So no big performances besides Mr. Matthews, I would say. Mr. Matthews put up 21. Good start for that. But, seeing Vereen and seeing Keenan Allen and Matthews and Hopkins, just, kind of big weeks, kind of low weeks. You never really know. only put up 138, so not a big week for Scott, but um, showing some weaknesses, I think, out of Eric's, Mike's, Scott's team. Well, not Mike's, but Scott and Eric's team. Just not big weeks for them, and he's just kind of lucky that he played I Love Mike Ditka this week. So, um, win is a win. He is 9-2, still in first place. Big matchup coming up between Mike and Scott. So let's move on to probably the closest game of the week, and definitely probably one of the biggest games was Derek versus Mr. Samuels. Very close battle. Oops. 105 to 102. Loading up here. So Cutler had a great game for Derek. Bo did nothing, 3 points. And really, Cutler is the only one that showed up. Everyone, Vernon Davis put up 2 points. Ryan Matthews, his big comeback, put up 8. But some disappointments. McFadden only 2 points. So definitely Derek could have had the victory if maybe one of those players would have showed up. I mean, it was only a 3-point victory for Mr. Samuels, so definitely hurt Derek and might have pushed him out of the playoffs. But Rogers, another big game, 34. Ingram, 16, maybe the best contract. Great contract for Mr. Samuels moving forward. Gabriel, that's a big pickup, 14 points. Crosby had 12 points. Jennings, 1.4. Blount didn't even play. LaFell put up 10. So, he has a couple good players that are pretty much carrying him. Rogers, Ingram are 2 players that are carrying him, and then he's hoping out a big game out of Fitzgerald, Tate, LaFell, one of those players, and it's been getting him victories. 105 points doesn't beat many teams this week, but it does beat Derek, and that's 4 in a row, I believe. And Mr. Samuels is 5 and 6. So, a couple big games coming up for him and his possible run to the playoffs. So, congrats to Mr. Samuels. And last game, I believe, was myself and Jared. Not really a close game. It was 166 to 113. Luck putting up numbers. Big game from Jeffrey, 30 points. Lacey, 27 points. Morris, 15 points. Gronk, 17. So big numbers across the board. I did put Hulu Jr. in instead of Welker, which was a good play. He had 15. Graham only had 5, so a little bit of concern there. But Crabtree got in the end zone finally. He's had terrible year, but definitely a good game overall for myself. Happy, 166, pretty good score. As far as Mr. Ferguson goes, got Sanchez as his starting quarterback. Yeah, Philly's offense, I guess, runs a lot of plays, but he put up 20. Randall had a good game, put up 18. Hawkins, 21. Will that number go down since Brown's new receivers coming in, whoever that is. Mr. Lynch, decent game, 13, nothing that we're used to seeing a little bit more. Dwayne Allen put up 0, ended up going out with an injury. Could be cause for concern moving forward. Dawson put up 14 for him as kicker. So, not a great game from anyone besides Hawkins out of Jason's team, but I know he's got a big game coming up with Mr. Samuels, and that could be the division. That could be for the division. So very big game for them. Hopefully he can get some guys healthy. Maybe Watkins can show up this week, and yeah. So I think playoff picture is coming into wrap a little bit more. We have a couple big games. I know Scott and Michael, myself and Eric coming up in a couple weeks, and Mr. Samuels and Jason. So big games coming up. Players are getting hurt, cut, healthy. Let's see what moves are made. and if you start the right players. But